Good morning. Welcome to our worship service at the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. We enter this new year, 2021, nurturing our connections, ever seeking inspiration, and hopeful for light and health as we begin to look at winter's end. My name is Jens Wenberg, and I'm the Celebration Associate today. Thank you so much for joining us. We welcome everyone, whether you're a newcomer or longtime attendee, members of the Ithaca community, or watching us from afar. We are so glad you've chosen to be with us. Please check your email, our Facebook page, and our website for more information about how to create connections. If you'd like to receive weekly updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. Newcomers are especially invited to visit our website and complete a newcomer form on the home page so that we can get to know you and you can learn more about us. Our service this morning has been pre-recorded, but we look forward to sharing the service broadcast on Sunday morning and seeing you at the live coffee hour that follows. This month, our Side with Love collection is gathering new earbuds and headsets for the village at Ithaca. You may donate at the church, or if you wish, you can send a check labeled Side with Love in the memo. Pub Theology occurs this Wednesday between 6:30 and 8, and that should be a good time. And then on January 23rd and 24th, that's a Saturday and a Sunday, Religious Exploration will host a stuffy sleepover at the church for your beloved stuffed friends. This is for adults too.
Hello everyone, Teresa O'Connor here to tell you about this year's February Fusit service auction, which will be online. It's February 12th, 13th, and 14th, and this year the theme is Love, Love, Love. We're going to use a computer program called Bidding Owl that will collect donations and run the auction. You'll get plenty of instructions about that when the time comes. But now we need your help. We need your donations of service, which could be anything from pet walking, to gardening, snow shoveling, online classes, decluttering closets, you think of it. So you can send your donations to board@ithacauu.org or contact any board member. Again, February 12th, 13th, and 14th will be the auction. We need your donations by January 31st. Thank you.
It begins here. The light streaming through the window, the final beams of moonlight or the rising of the sun. It begins here, in that moment of waking that reminds us who we are, what we are called to, how we are invited to turn the page anew. It begins here, in the first stretch of morning, in deep sighs and yawns of waking. It begins here, the revolution, first of our eyes opening anew, and then of our hearts, and then of our bodies and minds to wake anew to this world of possibility, of imagination, of purpose and power and inspiration. Waking anew to the power in each of us, in you and in me, to stir within us a newfound hope, a newfound love, a newfound pulling together to do the very work we are called to do, the work of being human and imperfect and loving and present to ourselves and each other and our collective yearning for the world. It begins here. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Here you belong. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together.
Good morning, friends. I have a couple of special guests here today that are going to help me with A Time for Wonder. This is Firezilla. Hi, Firezilla. And this is Ember. Hi, Ember. After we talk a little bit about what's in our special envelope today, they're going to help me share some information about our special event next weekend. But first, let's all grab our small envelope marked January 17th or 1/17 that looks like this. What did you find inside your envelope? Oh, I found a penny. This is a special penny, which was minted or made between 1959 and 2008. And there is a building on the back. Do you see it? Yeah, there it is. This building on the back. Who knows what building in Washington, D.C. it is? Oh, Firezilla wants to answer. She's telling me that it's the Lincoln Memorial. Has anyone been there? You can look very closely and see the statue of Lincoln there if you look really closely. Yeah. At your house, I bet you could find some other types of pennies, like the wheat penny, the Union Shield, or one of the special ones minted in 2009 for the Lincoln Bicentennial. The Lincoln Memorial is the site of a famous speech made by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called I Have a Dream. This entire speech has been provided in your UU Crate this month if you'd like to read it. Dr. King's words in his I Have a Dream speech can be revisited through the lens of today's environment and gives us new commitment and understanding in our fight against racism. Many white UUs were not very aware of racism in the last decade. Yet now, many white UUs are working on understanding that racism is still here, deep in our society. Today, white UUs realize that they need to imagine a better world. Our faith has taken up this work and called on UUs to build a world without racism. So one of the ways that our faith guides us to become a people of imagination is to imagine a better world. What are some of the things that you imagine in a better world? Oh, Ember wants to share. He says he imagines that in a better world, every child would have a toy to love and who loves them back, just like he loves Gwen. Do you have a special stuffy friend at your house? Ember and Firezilla are here with me today to invite those friends to a stuffy sleepover. We are inviting each of you to choose one toy to come and join us next weekend for a sleepover at church. You should make sure to clearly label your friends, so we call them by their correct name and pronoun, with both their name and the name of the person whom they belong to. We have lots of ideas for fun things we could do together. What do you think your stuffy would like to do? Oh, both Firezilla and Ember have ideas they want to share. Firezilla says she would love to explore and get to know some new friends, and that she loves stories and would love to hear a story. Oh, it's Ember's turn. Ember thinks that those things sound fun too, and he also wants to learn about what it is we do when we're at church together and maybe try some of those things. I will take pictures and maybe some videos to share with all of you so you can join in our adventures as well. There will be a special container on the porch, and you can drop your friend off anytime on Friday, January 22nd, or before noon on Saturday. Your stuffies will be ready to be picked back up on Sunday after the service. Firezilla, Ember, and I are all really looking forward to making some new friends and sharing adventures together. See you then.
Who will I be? Who will I be? What will I see? What will I see? In this great world, in this great world, who could be free? Who could be free? And what will I build? What will I build? What will I find? What will I find? My story begins. My story begins inside my mind. Inside my mind. Who will I be? Who will I be? And what will I see? What will I see? In this great world, in this great world, who could be free? Who could be free? What will I build? What will I build? And what will I find? What will I find? My story begins. My story begins inside my mind. Inside my mind. In my imagination. My imagination.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. The giving information will appear on your screen in a moment during the offertory music. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of this church. The first time you give with the text links, it's a longer process, but after the initial information is entered, the following donations are quick and easy. So please take a moment and give through either text option or the giving button on the home page of the website. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
Our reading this morning comes from an anthology called Spilling the Light. It is a gathering together of pieces by my colleague, the Reverend Teresa Inés Soto. And this piece is called Stretch. I confess that I have skipped to the back of the book. I really wanted to know what or who or how the story went. I told myself that if I still wanted to read the rest, then it must be good. But that only works for paperback books. Life is a little less linear. And still wanting to know how the journey will go, I am willing to dance with the suspense. What will become of failure? What can be built with an honest mistake? Keep paying attention. Keep dreaming and supposing that more is possible. We don't yet know the ending. And if you're tired, then it must be time to rest. Staying curious is like a muscle. We flex, reaching for what we don't yet know, and relax, leaving space for what is yet to come. In her poem Summer Day, Mary Oliver writes, "Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she shifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" These iconic words from the late Mary Oliver's poem Summer Day have echoed for years as a mantra for many of us. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver's life was one of creativity and beauty. She crafted poetry about the natural world and acknowledged the complicated balance of power therein. She acknowledged the immense power each of us has to influence it and the immense impact the natural world has on us and on our lives. 1 year ago today, Mary Oliver died, and her poetry lives on as a reminder to us of this balance, this remarkable gift she shared with the world, this gift of highlighting what we might learn from the natural world if we're willing to let it teach us. In her one wild and precious life, Mary Oliver wrote countless poems, gave talks, transformed the way some of us understand poetry. Her writing was simultaneously accessible and complex in its meanings and metaphors. Her enthusiasm for the natural rhythms of our planet and the beings that inhabit it was both inspiring and inspired. In her piece, Instructions for Living a Life, Mary writes, Instructions on living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Pay attention. In our world, this becomes more and more of a challenge with every passing day. Ours is a complex world with overstuffed schedules, increased demands on our time, distractions of social media and screen time, a constant news cycle. And the pull for our energy is in roughly 1,000 different directions. Add to that the challenge of deciphering what information is truthful, helpful, accessible, and we've got a real struggle on our hands. For some of us, being sequestered to our homes for the greater part of the last year, we are finally finding moments of stillness that offer space to pay attention, to notice the world around us. In some ways, we have been invited to pay attention in new and unique ways, to pay attention to ourselves, to each other, to the natural world we inhabit. In our reading this morning, Reverend Teresa Soto also invites us to pay attention. They invite us to stay present in the moment and resist the urge to rush to the end of the story. This is an invitation that is counter to the way we've done so many things in our lives. Ours is a culture steeped in the valuing of white supremacy, the emphasis therein of a sense of urgency. So often from this framework, we're propelled forward by the urge to do all of the things right now, immediately, and to do what is right and good right now. We want it, and we want it now. And for so many reasons, this attitude is born out of the idea that we should and will get what we demand. The sense of urgency that is so integral to white supremacist culture does not allow us to pay attention fully. In fact, it's a sense of urgency born out of the anxiety we feel with the dis-ease that is in our world. This anxiety can hinder our ability to be fully present, prevents us from pausing, zooming out, acknowledging the struggle that has been ongoing for so many, for so long. If we pause, if we pay attention, if we take the time to acknowledge what's happening right in front of us, we'll see that our sense of urgency may not be serving us so well. We have been reminded by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. we should not be silent about the things that matter. There's a sense of urgency in that. And as he echoed the words of Theodore Parker, the arc of the universe is long. And much of the realization of the beloved community lies beyond our reach, beyond our lifetimes. Our dream for a better world and a more beloved community must be one that stretches beyond what we can see right in front of us. This is why I'm so struck by Reverend Soto's acknowledgement that stretching and flexing and relaxing are all part of the process, that actually process is more important than content. Keep paying attention, they write. Keep dreaming and supposing that more is possible. We don't yet know the ending, and if you're tired, then it must be time to rest. Staying curious is like a muscle, they write. We flex, reaching for what we don't yet know, and relax, leaving space for what is yet to come. Paying attention doesn't always mean jumping to action, but holding the space for something big to happen. Paying attention also involves acknowledging what is in my control and what is bigger than me. Which brings me to my next part of the instructions for living a life from Mary Oliver. Pay attention. Be astonished. Be astonished. This reminds me of the words from Issei Barnwell and Sweet Honey in the Rock, the invitation to listen more often to things than to beings. It is entirely possible that in our inability to pay attention, we have lost the connection with our ability to be astonished. To feel a sense of astonishment, one needs to feel a sense of smallness in the presence of wonder and awe and magnificence. To be astonished is to take a stance of curiosity and of openness to something we don't already know or understand. To be astonished is to acknowledge that one's idea of what is right and true and good may shift based on our experiences of the world. It is to realize that our understanding of the source of all life and love is eternally impacted by the ways we see this source showing up in our everyday lives. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm that our direct experience of transcendent wonder and awe is one source of our faith tradition and spiritual development. And so when we experience a shift, a moment of wonder, or a moment of heartwarming connection, this impacts how we see the world and our place in it. This is part of why we're so moved when we see those videos of tigers snuggling with puppies and kittens, or why we're amazed when human beings surprise us with their acts of kindness, or why we feel better about the state of the world when we share what we have with others who need a little extra help. It's part of why we feel inspired when we donate to the monthly gathering for Side with Love here in this congregation, or when we bring some food to stock one of the blue food cabinets around town, or make a casserole for our neighbor who just tested positive for COVID-19. Because each of these actions is a reminder of our connection to one another. Each of these actions is a conscious choice of how we will live our one wild and precious life, one action at a time. So often, we think that our lives are determined by the big things we accomplish, the degrees, the awards, the promotions at work. And more often than not, the most astonishing parts of our lives are actually determined by how we show up for each other, for ourselves, for the world that needs us most. And so part 3 of the instructions for living a life: pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. If there's something I know about human beings, it's that we are not great at talking about our feelings. We aren't great at verbalizing and talking about the ways we've been impacted by other people. All too often, we don't say what we feel because we don't think it matters. We don't tell people how we feel. We don't tell them how they've impacted us or how the world is a better place because they're in it. But that is part of what we can do to transform the world, to be astonished and to tell about it. Write the thank you note, send the text, call the person, pay forward the kindness that has been done to you and bring it to another person. It's how the kindness multiplies. And don't wait until a person's funeral or memorial service to tell them the ways that they've brought wonder and love and kindness into your life, into the world. Don't wait to talk about the ways you felt let down, disappointed, the ways you hope for a new way forward with them. Telling about what we notice in the world and the ways we've been astonished, it's a multifaceted process. It requires both sharing and listening deeply. It requires showing up fully to the moment, staying curious about what we find there, being vulnerable. It requires that we do this over and over and over again. Think of these instructions for living a life as a continuous cycle. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it, repeat. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it, repeat. On this weekend, as we honor the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as we honor his impact in the world, as we remember the great poet Mary Oliver, as we reflect on the ways we can pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it, may we live our lives in the ways of truth and compassion and courage. May we honor the ways we have been transformed by each other, by prophetic people, by their words and their deeds. May we lift up the examples of lives well lived, not necessarily illustrated in accomplishments, but rather through showing up and doing good. May we pay attention. May we let ourselves be astonished. May we tell about it with love and courage and a striving toward a better world and a beloved community. So may it be. Amen. Blessed be.
Bring out wild bells to the wild, wild sky. A flying cloud, a frosty light. A eerie sky in the night. Bring out wild bells and let it die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. A year is going, let it go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that hear me sing no more. Ring out the food of rich and poor. Ring in, ring us to humankind. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good.
As we extinguish our chalices, we do not let go of the hope and courage that they represent. We go forth from this place carrying with us our sense of wonder, of imagination, our willingness to be astonished and surprised, our yearning for a world made fair and honest. We carry our promise to work for justice, our compassion for all, our love and our courage out into this beautiful and broken world. Our service has ended. Let our true service now begin. Go in peace.